Shalom, shalom. Hey, I'm back. I want to do another video. I want to say first and foremost, um, happy new moon to everybody keeping the new moon today, according to the calendar of the Most High, which is the lunisolar calendar, Genesis 1:14. So I just wanted to do a quick video and give some edification because there was a lot of confusion. I know a lot of you seen people who have already kept the Passover. You see, as far as this channel and I'm concerned, we'll be keeping the Passover 14 days from this point here. And you'll probably see some other people keeping it at different dates as well. So I just want to give some quick edification as far as how the year was established and the fact that today is actually New Moon Day, which is the first day, which is the month of Abib. So I just want to go into scripture and give some edification on that. And like I said, just give some edification, some understanding. And one thing for sure, my channel, my Facebook page, my YouTube channel, I'm never at any point trying to convince anybody of anything. I simply share the scriptures according to what I feel the Most High is leading me by His Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. I absolutely post what I post is according to scripture. I take very seriously that it says precept must be upon precept. So anytime I say anything or make a statement, it's definitely going to be followed up with a precept. So I just let the precepts speak for themselves. And Psalms 119 says that through thy precepts you get understanding. Therefore, we hate every false way. So I just allow the precepts to speak. And for those that have ears to hear and eyes to see, it's for those people. Maybe the other people that don't get it at this point. Maybe it's not for you at this particular time. But like I said, I just share share the understanding, the edification for those people that are willing to take a second look at what we've been taught or what we thought to believe. So like I said, I just want to go into scripture and give some edification on this. I'm going to pull it up on the screen. I'm going to go to Genesis 1:14, which is the calendar of the Most High, which is the lunisolar calendar. So I just want to start here. So it says, and Yahuwah said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, for days, and for years. So we have to understand, it says, let them, meaning both the sun as well as the moon, be for signs. So the sun is a sign as well as the moon is a sign as well. It says that the sun is a great sign. And it also says in scripture that from the moon is a sign of feast. So it says, let them be for signs and for seasons. So when this word here, seasons, is Strong's Concordance 4150, which means the appointed times of the Moedim. All of our appointed times are determined by the moon, which determines all feast days listed in Leviticus 23 to include our weekly Sabbath, which is the first feast listed in that particular chapter. So when again it says, let them be for signs and for seasons. The sun also determines our seasons, which is the four divisions of the year, which is spring, summer, fall, and winter. So both the sun and the moon are a sign, and they both have seasons, but you have to understand which season we're talking about when we're referencing the particular luminaries. It says, and for days. So with every biblical day, you cannot have a biblical day without the rising of the sun. And each day starts at the rising of the sun, which takes place in the east. So I know we've been commonly taught that a day starts in the evening, and that's an oxymoron because it says day, and there's no way that the day can start in the evening. It makes no sense, just like you cannot push and pull at the same time. So every biblical day starts at the rising of the sun, which takes place in the east, and the sun sets in the west. The setting of the sun in the west indicates the ending part of the day, which is the 12 hours of light called day, like Hamashiach said in John 11, verse 9. So it says, and for years. So our biblical years are determined by the sun, as well as the sun and the stars, right? So I just want to drop down to verse 16. I'm gonna come back and make another point about the years. So verse 16 says, and Yahuwah made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and he made the stars also. So we have to understand that the calendar of the Most High is a lunisolar calendar, and we have to take into consideration all of the luminaries and what they were created for and what they're created to do. So like it said there in verse 14 again, and Yahuwah said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, and for days and for years. So again, the seasons is talking about the moon, Strong's Concordance 4150. And when it says for years, it's talking about the sun. So I just want to read something. This is Enoch 74 and verse 13. And it says, and the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance nor delay their position by a single day unto eternity, but complete the year in perfect justice in 364 days. So what we have to understand is that the calendar of the Most High is a lunisolar calendar, and we have to understand that our biblical year is determined by the sun as well as the stars. And I know some people, they count the moon, and they'll say when the moon comes, which with the moon that they count as the month of Abib, they'll say Happy New Year at that point. And that's scripturally, that's incorrect. The moon does not determine when our biblical year starts. The moon determines all of the feast days listed in Leviticus 23 to include the weekly Sabbath. So this is where a lot of the confusion comes in, because we're not utilizing the correct luminary to determine and establish when the biblical year starts. So that's the problem when it comes to that. So I just want to go back into Enoch again and give some more understanding on that. Enoch 71. I'm going to pick it up at verse 9. So let me go back up to verse 1 and make a point of this real quick. So it says, the book of the revolutions of the luminaries of heaven, according to their respective classes, their respective powers, their respective periods, their respective names, the places where they commence their progress, and their respective months, which Uriel, the holy angel, which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, talking about Enoch, explained to me, he who conducts them, the whole account of them, according to every year of the world forever, until a new work shall be effected, which will be eternal. So Enoch is showing, Uriel is showing Enoch the functions of the luminaries, which is the sun, the moon, and the stars. And he's showing them this from a top view, because when we look at when it says equal parts day and night, people automatically assume that it's talking about in your specific location. Whereas, for example, if you live in a particular state opposed to another state, we're looking at it from that perspective. But what we have to understand is that when Uriel is showing Enoch these things, he's showing him this from a top view, because he took Enoch up to show him this from the top view. So the closest thing that we have, and I think I have that on here, let me show that as well. Yes. So this is called the yin and the yang. Now I know what this represents, but this is the closest depiction to show what I'm explaining, is that the holy angel Uriel took Enoch up from a top view and showed him. So when it says equinox, equal parts day and night, this is what it's talking about. It's talking about equal parts day and night on the circumference of the whole flat earth. It's not talking about if you live on one side of the equator or the other side of the equator. It's talking about collectively, as from the top view on the flat earth. So it's talking about equal parts day and night. And that's what the word equinox means, equal parts day and night. And that takes place in the third gate, bringing the year to a conclusion of 364 days. The very next day at the rising of the sun, which takes place in the east, is the starting point of our biblical year, which is determined by the sun as well as the stars. So I just want to make a point of that. I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to pick it up at verse 9. It says, In the same manner, it goes forth in the first month by a great gate. So right here, we see that Enoch is talking about the first month, right? And this is not talking about the moon. This is talking about the sun, because the sun has months as well. Like I said, the four divisions of the year: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And the sun's months is 30, 30, 31. So the sun has months as well. So it says, in the same manner, it goes forth in the first month by a great gate. Verse 10, it goes forth through the fourth of the six gates, which are at the rising of the sun. So if we read this chapter completely, we'll see that every time these gates change and every time these gates start, they always begin in the east at the rising of the sun, and they go for 30, 30, 31 days. And every time it changes from one gate to the next, it always changes after it sets in the west, meaning sunset. And when we look at the scriptures, evening simply means sunset. It does not mean the starting point of any biblical day. So this is telling us right here that it goes forth through the fourth of those six gates, which are at the rising of the sun. Verse 11 says, and in the fourth gate, through which the sun with the moon proceed. So it's the fourth gate where the new year takes place, just like it said again in verse 8. The sun sets in heaven, meaning that that's talking about the 364th day as it sets in the west, being in the third gate. It says the sun sets in heaven and returning by the north to proceed towards the east is conducted so as to enter into that gate and illuminate the face of heaven. So verse 9 again says, in the same manner it goes forth in the first month by the great gate. So it's talking about the first month, and the great gate is talking about the fourth gate. So verse 10 says, it goes forth through the fourth gate of those six gates, which are at the rising of the sun. So every gate begins at the rising of the sun, just like every biblical day begins at the rising of the sun. And we're going to go into Ezekiel 46, and it says that the gate that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but it shall be open in the Sabbath and the day of the new moon. So even with that, the gate that looketh towards the east is where the rising of the sun takes place, where the starting point of every biblical day begins. And to say that the day starts in the evening, that's putting the lesser light above the greater light. And we know what we read in Genesis 1:16, he made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, which is the sun, and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. So we cannot put the lesser light above the greater light and say that the moon determines when, or the evening determines when the sun starts, because when the day starts, because the moon is the lesser light to rule the night. So we can't put that before. We have to do everything decently in order, like the scripture says. So verse 11 says, and in the fourth gate, through which the sun with the moon proceeds, in the first part of it, there are 12 open windows from which issues out a flame when they are open in their proper periods. So it says the sun with the moon. So the sun and the stars, again, establishes our biblical year. So when this is established at the rising of the sun in the fourth gate, the sun goes through the fourth gate. So it says with the moon. So with today being so-called Saturday, April 18th, today is the first new moon after the sun has established, has ended the year in the 364th day. The very next day at the rising of the sun in the great gate, which is the fourth gate, the sun has gone through that, and that would have been so-called March 20th, which is the first day of our biblical year. So it says in the fourth gate through which the sun with the moon proceeds. So the sun went through the fourth gate, and now today being Saturday, April 18th, today is the first new moon to take place after the sun and the stars have established our new biblical year, is what this is saying. So it says in the first part of which there are 12 open windows from which issues out a flame when they are open in their proper periods. So I just want to make a point of this. So like I said, today is New Moon Day. This is the first month of our biblical year because the year has already been established. So Numbers 10:10 says, also in the day of our gladness and in our solemn days and the beginnings of our months. So the month of Abib is the first biblical month or the beginnings of our months. And this month right here is Strong's Concordance 2320, which means Kodesh, which is the months, right? So it says, at the beginnings of our months, ye shall blow with the trumpet over your burnt offerings and over your sacrifices and your peace offerings, that they may know, that they may be to you for a memorial before your allure. I am Yahuwah, your allure. So this is New Moon Day, the first month. So I'm going to go back into Enoch again, Enoch 71, and I want to pick it up at I want to pick it up at verse. Let me see where I want to be. Enoch 77. Let me go back. Enoch 77, not 71. 77 and verse 14. So Numbers 10:10 said, blow up the trumpet in the beginnings of your month. So Enoch is the second witness to this, and it says, Enoch 77, verse 14, it says, when it is wholly extinguished, its light is consumed in heaven. And on the first day, it is called the new moon, for on that day, light is received into it. So for those that count the dark moon as the new moon, that is not the new moon. This is telling us that the new moon happens when light is received into it. So while I'm here, I'm going to make a point of this. Verse 17, it says, where light comes to the moon, there again it decreases or wanes. The moon's process is a waxing, which is an increase, or a waning, which is a decrease. So it says, where light comes to the moon, there again it decreases until all of its light is extinguished. So when something is extinguished, that means it's completely put out. So just like if you have a fire extinguisher, you put the fire out. So it says its light is extinguished and the days of the moon pass away. Verse 18, then its orb remains solitary without light. So the dark moon is the end of the month. And when we pick it back up at verse 14 again, it says, and when it is wholly extinguished, or when it's the dark moon, the light has gone out of the moon, the month is over, its light is consumed in heaven. When something is consumed, it's completely gone, it's consumed. And on the first day, it is called the new moon, for on that day, light is received into it. So the new moon is the first light, which is the crescent light. That is the new moon. So today is New Moon Day, is the first day of the month of Abib. So I want to go and make another point. Exodus chapter 12. I'm going to pick it up at verse 1. And it says, and Yahuwah spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginnings of months. So just like Numbers 10:10 said, blow up the trumpet in the beginnings of your months. So Abib is the beginning of our biblical months as far as the moon is concerned, as far as our feast days are concerned, that's listed in Leviticus 23. So from the top, it says, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So when it says of the year to you, the year must first be established for the first month to be the first month of the year. And the year again is established by the sun as well as the stars. Again, Enoch 74 and verse 13, it says, and the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto eternity, but complete the years in perfect justice in 364 days. So once that is completed, or once that has happened, like it said in Enoch 71, the sun with the moon going through the great gate, which is the fourth gate, at the rising of the sun, Then at that point, once that has taken place, it says, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So today's new moon, which is so-called, again, Saturday, April 18th, is the first month of the year, being new moon day. This is what this is talking about, right? So I'm going to pick it up at Deuteronomy 16 and verse 1. And it says, observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto Yahuwah thy Allur. For in the month of Abib, Yahuwah thy Allur brought thee forth out of the land, out of Egypt by night. So this is the first month of the year, being Abib. And 14 days from this point is when the Passover will take place. This is what this is talking about, right? So another thing too, for those that are waiting to spot the moon first, there's absolutely no scripture in any book, whether it's Enoch, whether it's Jubilees, whether it's the 66, that ever tells us we have to spot the moon first to determine that it's new moon day. That's just not what it says. We've been taught that we do that. I used to do that at one point before I understood that a biblical month can not be less than 29 days or more than 30 days. So automatically after a 29-day month, the next day is new moon day at the rising of the sun. After a 30-day month, the next day at the rising of the sun is new moon day as well. So we have to understand that both the Sabbath as well as the new moon is only celebrated during the daylight hours. Ezekiel 46, I'm going to pick it up at verse 1. It says, thus saith Yahuwah Allur, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east. So again, the gate that looketh towards the east, because every biblical day starts at the rising of the sun, which takes place in the east. Just like the biblical year started off in the great gate, the fourth gate, at the rising of the sun in the east. So it says, thus saith Yahuwah Allur, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days. But on the Sabbath it shall be open, and in the day of the new moon it shall be open. So in the day of the new moon, this is new moon day at the rising of the sun. The new moon as well as the Sabbath are only celebrated during the daylight hours. So if you wait until you spot the moon, you are going to miss the 12 hours of light called day, as Hamashiach said. You're going to miss the new moon day celebration. When the evening comes, it simply means sunset. The gate is then shut, and the celebration for the new moon or either the Sabbath is over at that point. The next biblical day does not start until the next rising of the sun that takes place in the east. So verse 2 says, and the prince shall enter by the way of the porch of that gate without, and shall stand at the post of the gate, and the priest shall prepare his burnt offerings and his peace offerings, and he shall worship at the threshold of the gate. Then he shall go forth, but the gate shall not be shut until the evening. Because when you go into the scripture, evening simply means sunset. The Strong's Concordance 61:53. And I think I have that as well. Let me show that. Let me show that. I think I have that as well. Yes, evening. So this is evening, the definition from evening in the Strong's Concordance. And you see the top here is from Genesis 1:5. So the word evening is Strong's Concordance 61:53. And it simply means evening, night, sunset. So when it says the gate shall not be shut until the evening, when the evening comes, which simply means sunset, the gate is then shut and the celebration is at that point over. That's just simply what that means. So we have to understand that. So So I just wanted to go in the scripture and show that. And let me make one other point as well. Um, because I want to show this for those that counted that moon. A lot of people follow the WLC calendar, and which I followed. I use that as a tool as well. But what you have to understand is that scripture takes precedence over anything that we use as a tool. So when you look at this is the month of March 2026. And so most people counted March 19th as the new moon for the month of Abib. But I want to show this. Um, if the equinox takes place on March 20th, which is here, equal parts day and night, as I showed the example of the yin and the yang, showing that Enoch saw it from a top view with the holy angel Uriel. So at this point, March 20th, that would have been that would have been the 364th day, concluding the year, ending the year in the third gate. The very next day at the rising of the sun in the great gate, which would have been the 21st is right there. That would have been day one of the biblical year, which was determined by the sun as well as the stars, right? So if we simply go back here and we count from this point, it says in Jubilees 6. Let me read that. Let's pull that up. I'll pull this up, make this point, and I'll close out on this. Jubilees 6. Jubilees 6. And I'm going to read verse 36 to 38. So this is Jubilee 6, verse 36. It says, for there will be those that will assuredly make observations of the moon. Now it disturbeth the season and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. So it's telling you that the moon comes in 10 days too soon. A biblical year is 364 days. The moon comes in a 12-month period of 354 days. So it comes in 10 days too soon. So verse 37 says, for this reason, the years will come upon them, and they will disturb the order and make an abominable day, the day of testimony, and an unclean day, a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. So because the moon comes in 10 days too soon, if you're only counting the moon and not reconciling the year using the command of 364 days or 52 weeks, which is determined by the sun and the stars, you will confound the days and the months and go wrong to all of the Sabbaths and all of the feast days. So this is what it's saying, because the moon comes in 10 days too soon, right? So I want to show this. If this is the last day, the equinox, and the first, if this is the last day of the year, the equinox, equal parts day and night, if we simply count from this Sabbath here, which would have been the third Sabbath, if we count from there as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We see that's exactly 10 days. If we counted this new moon here, that is the 9th day. This is the 10th day, 10 days exactly before the year came to an end and started on the 21st. So if you counted this new moon here, you have dislodged the feast according to Enoch, according to Jubilees, according to the scriptures, because the year must be reckoned, the year must come to an end in the third gate, be reconciled in the fourth gate, which is the great gate. After that, the next new moon, which is today, the 18th, would be the first month of the years, what this is saying. So just wanted to make a point of that, and make a point of that as well. So the last verse, Jubilee 6 and 38, it says, for this I command and testify to thee, that thou mayest testify to them, for after the death of thy children, the children will disturb them, so that they will not make in the year, 364 days only. For this reason, they will go wrong as the new moons and the seasons and the Sabbaths and the festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. So the conclusion to it is that today is the first month of the year. So I just want to say happy new moon to everybody that's keeping the new moon today. That's keeping it according to the only calendar of the Most High, Genesis 1:14, which is a lunisolar calendar. Today is the first month of our biblical year, the first day of Abib. 14 days from now will be the Passover. So I just wanted to go into scripture and give some edification on that and some understanding on that. And again, like I said, when I post videos or scriptures or whatever I'm posting on my page, it's never to convince anybody, persuade anybody. It's to at least give you something to think about, something to consider, right? So this is what this is. So for all those that are keeping it today, have a blessed new moon day. If we're blessed tonight, we may see the crescent. I believe we will, but that's not a requirement. The requirement is the biblical month is 29 or 30 days as far as the moon is concerned, and automatically the next day at the rising of the sun is new moon day. Just like David and Jonathan said, without seeing it, tomorrow is the new moon. We can also do that too once we learn how to count the biblical months. So with that, I say shalom, shalom.